Waterford 327, Clare 318 in the All-Ireland quarter-final down at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And I think Liam Cahill, what will please him most here is that the team, they obviously had a good lead at a couple of different periods, and Clare came back, but they still won, and won with something to spare. And you had something like 12 different scorers over the course of the game. After putting up 21 points against Limerick, to put up 327 here is massive scoring, and an awful lot. He'll take an awful lot from the even spread of quality throughout his team. It wasn't like there was one lad completely shooting the lights out and that was it. Obviously Stephen Bennett put up a big score, but he actually has a stick to beat his team with a little bit here. And that's do they work the ball enough into the shooters? I mean, I know Stephen Bennett got a lot of scores, but he had 5 missed chances in the first half. He took on a goal or he knocked the ball over the bar in the second half when he had Neil Montgomery on his inside for a clear goal. Kieran Bennett did the same thing a little bit earlier in the half. I can't remember who exactly it was, but he had someone inside him and he knocked it over the bar. And that's probably the real stick that Liam Cahill has to beat his team with. I mean, we saw how many goals his team's got underage with Tipperary, especially that under-20 team last year. I think scored something like 14 goals in the season. It was ridiculous anyway. And if he can get his team to score goals and actually always try and find the man in the right position, which the best teams tend to do, and obviously Limerick and Kilkenny are in the semi-final for a reason too, that they tend to do. Because everything should run through Desi Hutchinson here. He scored the first goal, and how he whipped Ozzie Gleeson's shot was blocked after Stephen Bennett ran through. So to be fair, he is capable of it, and that's the thing. If he'd actually kind of play a little, take on fewer shots just himself, because at times it comes across as very selfish. But he's teed up the chance for Austin Gleeson. Gleeson had the chance, and it was blocked away. And the way Desi Hutchinson stretched to get that ball and whipped it in, that was really impressive. No more than it was for his second goal. The ball broke, a high ball that was going on top of Austin Gleeson, who, you can see really good reasons to play him at number 14. He obviously has the quality to put the ball in his hand, but he's a high ball option too. And they'd obviously like to see him a bit more in the game overall. And again, it was very noticeable that Liam Cahill took him off with a few minutes to go, as he had against Limerick, and did the same here with 5 minutes to go, and probably including injury time, 7 or 8 minutes to go. But the ball broke from off a high ball for Desi Hutchinson to get onto that break and knock in the second one. But what I really liked about what Hutchinson did was himself and Rory Hayes were both moving towards the ball, and he gave him a little nudge at the perfect time, and that's what allowed him to get through. And it was a subtle little thing, and we see it all the time. Sometimes it's pulled up, but it was so subtle, and he's so quick off the blocks. And to be fair to Rory Hayes, he did really, really well. He got a yellow at the end of the game for a late little hit. He was probably just frustrated with the amount of pressure he'd been under the whole game. But he did very well, and he knocked away a couple of balls from Desi Hutchinson as he was trying to lift it up at times. And I think he did very, very well overall, as well as anyone can do, given the service that Desi Hutchinson had. Now, I haven't even mentioned Tony Kelly yet, and you could say Clare's chances pretty much died on his injury very, very early in the game. And despite conceding a goal after 2 minutes, Clare came back and hit 3 in a row. So you're thinking, okay, they're not just going to go away. Second goal goes in, and obviously Stephen Bennett then had a chance to go for a goal. He probably should have passed it off to someone. Recurring theme here. Jamie Barron gets a point, and then Clare come back again with a Tony Kelly free. And then you think when it goes to 2-4 to 4 points that they go away, but they actually get 1-2 out of the next 1-3. So I think a really resilient performance from Clare. Probably just are lacking the numbers. Waterford brought on subs and they were contributing, but Clare were just falling away. And this is where it comes back to not having John Conlon and Colin Galvin and Peter Duggan and players like that. And we'll see which players are actually available next season. They'll hope certainly that Colin Galvin can get fully fit, and John Conlon. After that, we'll have to see what happens with everyone else that wasn't there. Austin Gleeson did some brilliant things, did some probably not so brilliant things. Had a wide in the second half, got himself a few points. Actually, another positive performer on the Clare side of things, when I think of it, is Cathal Malone. He scored 4 nice points. Aidan McCarthy did some good things, including that goal. Although I do think that Stephen O'Keefe would probably be a bit disappointed, because it was at the side where his hurley starts off at, and it went past him there, and it travelled from the 21 across him. You'd think that a goalkeeper might stop that, but that could be unfair. Only Stephen himself knows whether he should have saved it or not. But a little bit after that, he did a great save from Aaron Cunningham. Then he caught a high ball in, dangerous one, and then he stopped another save. I'm not sure who whipped on the ball. I think it was Aaron Cunningham, again whipped on a loose ball, and he stopped it as well. So he more than made up for it in the heel of the hunt. But for Waterford, even just the fact that Clare came back and got that goal, it was another test of character, and they probably needed that. Obviously, as I said, Tony Kelly, that injury, an awful lot of their chances live and die with Tony Kelly, and he'd 145 scored from 3 games before this. And when he couldn't move around the way he does, I mean, that just kills their team so much, and you're relying massively on Aaron Shanahan then. And what a performance he gave! Like that first goal, I would imagine again Stephen O'Keefe did a lot of brilliant things, but and it was 1-on-1, so the chances are the forward's going to score it, and Prunty had to go to the man to David McInerney. And I think Waterford would be disappointed at their setup at the back there, because Prunty's kind of the last man putting in a tackle, and he's on the 21 with no one around him in either direction. So I mean, that just shows you we're kind of caught at the back. But a nice hand pass from David McInerney. And Shanahan blasted the ball into the ground. But like, I don't think a goalkeeper should ever be falling backwards, because you're actually just making yourself, the opposite of Peter Schmeichel, who comes out in the star and makes yourself big. You're kind of making yourself small. But then again, I haven't played goalkeeper, so only he can tell us if that's the way he should be going at it or not. Callum Lyons, brilliant as always. It seems pretty much as brilliant as always. And of course, he wasn't against a 100% Tony Kelly, but we can only. Tony Kelly stayed playing on. He lasted the rest of the game. That shows how desperate Clare were to have him on the field and how reliant they are. But you can only judge Lyons on what he does himself. He got himself a score towards the end of the game. Something that really sticks out to me is the way how he gets a ball up. He's like a bird going after a worm. Just like he lifts the ball up and his hand goes down on top of it. And you'd actually think that would be the higher risk, that if you get your hand underneath it, the worst case scenario, you'll knock it up in the air and you'll catch it again. If you go down and you knock it down, it hits the floor. But he just does it so brilliantly. It's like some players, they do unorthodox skills, and you might try and coach it out of some lads, but when guys are so good at it, you're nearly inclined to say work away. It's going to be very tough for Watford to turn this around in the space of a week now. The one beauty of it is that they did win pulling up for a finish. They created 51 scoring chances over the course of the game to Clare's 38, and put away 30 of them. So that shows a fair degree of wastefulness and an awful lot of shooting from distance, which was frustrating to watch actually at times. But Kilkenny, it's advantage Kilkenny, because Waterford have a day less to prepare than Galway do against Limerick. So you're getting the short end of the stick there. So that is going to be tough for Waterford. But I think overall, first season already, huge stuff for Liam Cahill, because they'd gone a couple of seasons without winning any championship game at all. They've got a couple now. They performed really well against Limerick in the Munster final, and by that I mean they were in the game. It was level game going into the second water break, or coming out of the second water break in the second half of that game. So they'll feel that they have a right good chance here. They will need everyone to perform. They haven't played at Croke Park yet this year, but they look like a team that might be ready for it. But it is definitely going to be advantage Kilkenny.